Everything has to be paid for. The Iraqi diaspora generates an estimated $30 billion to $40 billion in annual economic output, most of it in the United Kingdom, the United States, Germany, and Sweden. Iraq's own GDP runs at approximately $210 billion each. The diaspora economy is not a footnote. It is a parallel system, one built by people who left because staying was no longer economically or physically viable. They did not take their skills, their networks, and their productive capacity with them voluntarily in the economic sense. They were pushed out, and the country they left behind lost them permanently. This episode examines how conflict-driven emigration creates parallel economic systems outside the origin country, why the wealth generated by diaspora populations does not flow back in meaningful quantities, and what it means when a nation's most productive citizens become another nation's economic contributors. The economy follows the people, and the people do not come back. How diaspora economies form. A diaspora economy is not planned, it emerges. When large numbers of people leave a country due to conflict, they cluster in receiving nations drawn by existing communities, language groups, and economic opportunities. Over time, these clusters develop internal economic ecosystems, businesses serving diaspora needs, professional networks, investment channels, and cultural institutions. The diaspora economy becomes self-sustaining. The World Bank's Migration and Remittances Framework tracks diaspora economic activity across conflict-affected origin countries. Their data shows that conflict-driven diasporas, populations displaced by war rather than by economic opportunity, generate economic output in host countries at rates comparable to or exceeding the GDP contribution they would have made in their origin country. The productive capacity does not disappear, it relocates. Iraq's diaspora illustrates the scale. An estimated 3.4 million Iraqis live outside the country, concentrated in the United Kingdom, Germany, the United States, Sweden, and Australia. Many are professionals, engineers, doctors, academics, entrepreneurs who left during the conflicts of 2003 to 2014. Their combined economic output in host countries runs between $30 billion and $40 billion annually, according to diaspora economic assessments by the International Organization for Migration and OECD data on immigrant economic contribution. The remittance question. The conventional assumption about diaspora economies is that remittances, money sent back to the origin country, partially offset the productive capacity lost through emigration. The reality is more complicated. Remittance flows from conflict-driven diasporas are smaller than those from economic migration diasporas. Conflict migrants are more likely to have arrived as refugees, with lower initial incomes and longer periods of economic adjustment in host countries. The World Bank estimates that conflict-driven diaspora remittance rates, the percentage of income sent back, run at 3% to 7% of diaspora income, compared to 10% to 15% for economic migrants. For Iraq, total remittance flows back to the country run approximately $1.5 billion to $2.5 billion annually, against a diaspora generating $30 billion to $40 billion in host country economic output. This represents a return rate of less than 8%. The origin country captures a fraction of the economic value its former citizens generate abroad. They said, diaspora remittances would function as a significant economic stabilizer for conflict-affected origin countries, partially replacing lost domestic productive capacity. They got remittance flows covering less than 1% of Iraq's GDP, arriving inconsistently, and declining further as diaspora populations integrate into host country economies and reduce backward financial ties. The Syrian professional exodus. Syria's pre-conflict professional class was among the most educated in the Middle East. Doctors, engineers, academics, and entrepreneurs formed a workforce that, under stable conditions, would have supported sustained economic growth. Between 2011 and 2020, an estimated 1.5 million to 2 million educated Syrians left the country. Germany absorbed a significant share of this outflow. Syrian professionals in Germany contribute to the German technology sector, healthcare system, and academic institutions. Their economic output is measured in German GDP, not Syrian GDP. The loss to Syria is permanent and compounding. Each skilled professional who leaves reduces Syria's capacity to train the next generation, to build institutions, and to attract investment. The IMF's Human Capital Loss Framework estimates that each percentage point decline in a country's skilled workforce reduces long-term GDP potential by 0.4 to 0.7 percentage points annually. For Syria, which lost an estimated 25% to 30% of its pre-conflict skilled workforce, the long-term GDP impact, measured in potential output permanently foregone, runs into the tens of billions. The diaspora does not compensate for this loss. Syrian professionals in Germany build Syrian restaurants, Syrian cultural institutions, and Syrian diaspora networks. But they build Syrian businesses in Germany. The economic activity stays where the people are. Ukrainian case, real-time economic geography shift. Ukraine's conflict after February 2022 created one of the fastest and largest diaspora formations in modern European history. An estimated 8 million Ukrainians fled to Poland, Germany, Czech Republic, and other EU nations within the first year. Among them were a significant number of working-age professionals, IT workers, engineers, teachers, medical staff. Poland absorbed the largest share, approximately 3.5 million to 4 million Ukrainians, according to Polish government registration data. Ukrainian workers in Poland contributed an estimated $5 billion to $8 billion to Polish GDP within the first 12 months of their arrival, according to estimates from the National Bank of Poland and Polish labor market data. This output, generated by Ukrainian labor, Ukrainian skills, Ukrainian productive capacity, appears in Polish economic statistics. It does not appear in Ukrainian ones. They said Ukrainian emigration would be temporary, with most displaced populations returning once security conditions stabilized. They got integration patterns in Poland and other host countries that mirror long-term settlement, not temporary displacement. Return rates remained below 20% as of late 2024, according to UNHCR and Polish Migration Bureau data. The economic geography of Ukrainian productive capacity shifted westward permanently for a significant share of the emigrant population. The origin country deficit. The diaspora economy is not simply a mirror image of what the origin country lost. It is a transformed version, one that operates under different rules in different markets with different incentives. Diaspora entrepreneurs build businesses calibrated to host country markets, not origin country needs. Iraqi tech companies in London serve British clients. Syrian engineers in Germany work on German infrastructure projects. Ukrainian IT specialists in Poland develop software for European markets. The productive capacity that left the origin country does not remain oriented toward the origin country's recovery. It reorients toward the economies where it now operates. The World Bank's post-conflict recovery framework identifies diaspora economic reorientation as one of the most persistent structural consequences of conflict-driven emigration. Recovery plans that assume diaspora skills and capital will flow back to the origin country consistently overestimate the actual return. The diaspora economy becomes self-sustaining in the host country, and the origin country must rebuild its productive base from a significantly reduced starting point. They said post-conflict recovery would benefit from diaspora expertise and investment, with skilled emigrants returning to help rebuild. They got diaspora populations that integrated into host country economies, built careers and businesses oriented toward host country markets, and showed return rates below 20% even when security conditions in origin countries improved. The second-generation lock-in. Diaspora economic reorientation becomes permanent not at the moment of emigration, but at the moment the second generation enters the workforce. Children of conflict-driven emigrants grow up in host countries. They speak the host language fluently, they attend local schools, they build social and professional networks in the host economy. By the time they reach working age, 15 to 20 years after their parents' departure, they are economically indistinguishable from the native workforce. They do not return to the origin country. They have no economic reason to. The origin country is not their economy, it is their parents' history. The OECD's generational integration data shows that second-generation immigrants from conflict-affected countries achieve labor market participation rates within 5 to 10 percentage points of native populations within 10 to 15 years. Their economic output is fully captured by the host country. The origin country receives nothing, not remittances, not investment, not productive capacity. This is where diaspora economics becomes permanent. The first generation may send money back. The second generation builds careers abroad. The third generation has no meaningful economic connection to the origin country at all. Conflict does not just displace people for a generation, it relocates economies across generations. The long account. Conflict does not only destroy productive capacity within a country's borders, it relocates it. The diaspora economy is not a consolation prize, it is evidence of permanent economic loss, measured not in destroyed factories, but in productive citizens who now generate wealth somewhere else. Iraq's diaspora generates $30 billion to $40 billion annually in host countries. Iraq's domestic economy receives $1.5 billion to $2.5 billion in remittances in return. Syria lost 25% to 30% of its skilled workforce. Ukraine shifted millions of productive workers into Polish and European economies within months. In each case, the origin country's long-term economic potential was reduced not by destruction alone, but by the systematic relocation of the human capital that would have driven recovery. This is conflict's most durable economic legacy. Infrastructure can be rebuilt, factories can be replaced, but a doctor who built a practice in London, an engineer who raised a family in Berlin, an IT specialist who bought a house in Warsaw, these are not temporary losses. They are permanent geographic redistributions of economic activity, and no reconstruction plan has ever reversed them at scale. The economy follows the people, and when conflict pushes enough people out, it pushes the economy out with them. Subscribe to The Price of Conflict. Because the most expensive thing a country can lose in a war is not territory, it is the people who would have built its future.